Hello there, welcome to SaberDuel Gaming, where we always take the high ground. Now, for anyone who has a love of retro gaming, or quite frankly a love of gaming in general, it's kind of hard to deny that Mario is the most iconic character in gaming history. Certainly since 1983, the Super Mario Bros. Games and their spin-offs have been amongst the most popular and successful games of all time, with many of them being integral to gaming as we know it. So with that in mind, I thought it was about time we asked, what are the top 10 Super Mario games that you need to play? Number 10, Super Mario World. Released in 1990, Super Mario World was the flagship release game for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System, and it really capitalized on the substantial increase in processing power and graphics that the new console could deliver. Whilst the Mario games on the NES had already been considered amongst the most beautiful and colourful games on the console, the Super Mario World game on the SNES took it to a whole other level. The game is particularly famous for introducing us to Yoshi, who would go on to become a real mainstay in Nintendo games going forward. However, from this point on, the rest of the game very much did what previous games did. It used the maps from Super Mario Bros. 3, and although Mario flied using a cape, we'd seen Mario fly before in previous games, and realistically that's why it's not further along in the list. It didn't really introduce much else that was completely new. That said, the game was a great deal of fun, and still a fantastic entry. Number 9, Super Mario Galaxy. From a game that could potentially be accused of playing it a little bit too safe, to a game that can never be accused of that, Super Mario Galaxy literally took the franchise into outer space. And I don't just mean had levels set in space, I mean you were literally running around three-dimensional planets, asteroids and rocks and moons in space. For many people, this was an absolute breakout success for the franchise, whilst for others, it was a step too far and some found it a little bit confusing to play. However, it cannot be denied that the graphics and gameplay in this took Mario to a whole other level, and it's an integral part of his history. If you do, like me, struggle with the controls a little bit, try it on the Nintendo Switch where the controls are a touch easier. Number 8, Super Mario Sunshine. Released in 2002, this was a game that set out to show just what the Nintendo GameCube was capable of. Whilst it stuck with a platform feel, it had a very distinct and unique gameplay. It utilised a flood device which allowed Mario to use jets of water to fly or squirt the jets of water to take on a weird goo that had seemingly taken over Delfino Plaza. Mario also had to confront a strange mirror version of himself, and this was a unique twist on the Mario lore. Number 7, Super Mario Land. Released in 1989 on that original non-colour green screen Game Boy, this was Mario's first foray into proper handheld gaming. Whilst the game only had 4 worlds, each with 3 levels in, making it substantially shorter than the other Mario games, for the time, this was still considered absolutely amazing for a handheld console. For confident and strong Mario gamers, this would be probably a relatively easy game to complete, at least the earlier levels, and a number of tweaks and adaptations were made to the gameplay to make it fit on that particular console. However, despite that, this really has a place in Mario history. It has some of the most iconic music, with the Super Mario Land song actually being released into the charts. It's also the only one of the games that when Mario gets a superstar, the Can Girl music plays, which is rather strange overall. For many gamers, this was their first real introduction to Mario, so really has a famous place to hold. Number 6, Super Mario All-Stars. If this was a list solely on the best Mario games, this would probably rank far higher in the list. Released in 1993, Super Mario All-Stars basically brought together the original Super Mario Bros. 1, 2 and 3, along with Super Mario Bros. The Lost Levels, which was the original Super Mario Bros. 2 in Japan, and it took the graphics and made them so much more incredible. The graphical jump easily surpassed what was done in Super Mario World, and overall made this a substantially better game. Whilst for some people playing the original versions could be a little bit cumbersome due to the dated graphics, these graphics even now stand up perfectly well and make it a very enjoyable game to play. This was one of the main reasons that the SNES sold in such high quantities, and overall was one of the best Mario games ever made. However, that said, it is basically a combination of other Mario games, which is why it's a little bit further back. Number 5, Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island. Look at those graphics. What you are seeing, that movement, that 3D look, you have to bear in mind this was made in 1995. This was the same console, the SNES, that the Super Mario World and Super Mario All-Stars were on. It's probably hard to appreciate just how impressive and unique these graphics were, and if anything, that's the main reason why it would be so important to play this game. For the first time in a main Mario game, you actually played as Baby Mario, and more so probably Yoshi. This was a very different feeling game, and it didn't necessarily appeal to everybody because the feel of the gameplay was so different. However, the graphics of it and what it managed to achieve was so impressive, and not in the obvious way that games like Star Fox were, where it was all, look, this is all 3D. This added layers and textures, and whilst it isn't a game that is remembered as fondly as some of the other Mario games, it's definitely worth checking out. Plus, the changes in the gameplay made it much more of a challenge for even seasoned Mario gamers that would normally walk into a new game and easily breeze through. Number 4, New Super Mario Bros. After many years of keeping Mario in the 3D realm, Nintendo brought it back to the two-dimensional roots in New Super Mario Bros. On the Nintendo DS, and this proved to be a stroke of genius. With this in the earliest days of the hype around retro gaming, New Super Mario Bros. Allowed Nintendo to give Mario a whole new three-dimensional feel within two-dimensional gameplay. Three-dimensional aspects were very subtle, such as Mario being able to run back into the distance of a game, or doing three-dimensional flips, but the basic gameplay was very similar to playing the original Super Mario Bros. Or Super Mario Bros. 3. With a bunch of additional enhancements to the game, this was a definite win for Mario. Number 3, Super Mario Bros. 3. In my eyes, and in my opinion, Super Mario Bros. 3 is the true sequel to the original Super Mario Bros. It had so much to achieve, with the original Super Mario Bros. Direct sequel, Super Mario Bros. 2, a bit of a jumbled mess. Japan got the Lost Levels, which was effectively a harder version of the original, and in the West, they were given Super Mario Bros. 2, which was effectively a completely different game, simply dressed up as Mario. So Super Mario Bros. 3 was the true follow-up, and it had so much to live up to and had so much to achieve, and it was undeniable that it did this. It introduced maps into the franchise which have been used ever since. It introduced much larger worlds and more complex levels. It was also the first Mario game to introduce mini-games into the franchise, as well as all kinds of different power-ups, such as the ability to fly. And while the graphics may have dated, the gameplay has not. Number 2, Super Mario 64. Unless you were around for its release, a gaming fan at that time, you just cannot comprehend what this game meant. On its release as one of the pilot games for the Nintendo 64, the ability to see Mario in this three-dimensional levels and three-dimensional scale was breathtaking. Hell, it was mind-boggling enough for us to just look at simple pictures of the graphics. With three-dimensional gameplay so commonplace now, it's too easy to take for granted. This game was groundbreaking for a whole generation of gaming fans. Whilst many games had given a feel of 3D gaming, this had true 3D exploration involved, and it did so beautifully, with beautiful audio and gameplay to match. Hell, even the controls, whilst a teeny bit clunky now, were a joy to play at the time. This game truly took Mario into a whole new dimension. And number 1, Super Mario Bros. Because what the hell else was it ever going to be? Not only is this the first of the Super Mario Bros. Games, but it's by far the most iconic. Hell, you can't walk into a game shop right now without finding merchandise, retro or otherwise, linked to this game specifically. It has to be remembered as well that at the time of this game's release, the gaming industry was starting to wane, and it was the release of this game, along with some subsequent games that Nintendo released, that really revitalized gaming in general. Without this game, the gaming industry itself could well have fallen flat. I'm not saying we wouldn't have had games, but we wouldn't have had one of its most iconic platformers. We wouldn't have had games like Super Mario Kart, and certainly games like Sonic. Maybe Nintendo themselves would have fallen through, and hell, we certainly wouldn't have SaberDuel Gaming. Thanks for watching. If you've got any other iconic Mario games that you prefer, comment below, and feel free to subscribe for more lists.